When we are writing data-driven tests, besides using arrays as a notation to pass data into tests, we could also use object notation, and in this lesson let's consider a couple of other notations, how we can define parameterized tests. So I'm going to duplicate this test, and the idea is to basically rewrite these arrays as objects, where each key will correspond to parameter name we're going to pass to testing function. In this particular case, since we are passing two different pieces of data, they are called tracked seconds and percentage. I'm gonna have to define objects with a couple of properties to correspond to those names and assign appropriate values. But the main idea is the same. We're still going to execute testing function as many times as many objects are present in this array. And then to reference these values in the test description, instead of using %, we have to use $sign and the property name. So in here I'm referencing property with the name tracked seconds, and right here let's use percentage. And the way how we are accepting parameters in the testing function is also different. Instead of accepting separate parameters, we have to destructure those objects from the array we have passed into each method and reference individual properties. And then those properties can be passed further. And as you can see, after using object notation, all tests are still passing. But there is actually one more way how we can define parameterized tests. And this time we're going to use template strings to supply values to testing function. And it works like this. We are calling method each, and then using so-called tagged templates by specifying backticks. And the first line of this string is supposed to contain column names of our data. We have only two columns with names tracked seconds and percentage. And please note that all these columns are separated by a vertical line. And then in order to populate this tagged template with values, we're going to interpolate values as usual. I'm going to quickly fill in this table with all the values we need for this test. And at the end, if we'll apply formatting to this file, as we can see, this table has been formatted as well. And the way we are referencing the data inside test description also stays the same, as well as the way how we are accepting parameters into the function. Here we can also apply the structuring to extract individual pieces of data. And there we go, all our tests are still green. But please note, if we're going to change this separator, for example, instead of vertical line, we'll use a different character. In this case, tests are going to fail. So these were a couple of additional notations we can use when defining data-driven tests. We can use whether array notation, object notation, or tagged template notation. I'm gonna keep only the first one, where we have defined parameterized test by using array notation. Link to the source code, as always, will be in the video description.